All right, next up in the back end, RB1, high end RB2 conversation. I'm going to start off with Travis Etienne, who played well early and then kind of suffered down the stretch. He's done that for 2 straight seasons now, and the team has talked about, limiting his workload a little bit, making sure that they get him some breathers, and really giving Tank Bigsby an opportunity in this backfield. So I think Travis Etienne will be fine. I think he'll be good, but I do have some workload concerns as the season goes on. And I really just don't see the true upside. Even after the season he had last year, I don't see the true upside to be a top 5 back this season. So he's down here in this tier. Next up is Rachaad White, and system's going to be changing here. They have Liam Cohen's system now, so obviously he's going to get featured in as a runner, but the team did draft Bucky Irving as well, so have concerns about them potentially splitting the workload, or if he's showing something that's not involvement in the passing game and he can't be a more efficient runner. I do have some concerns about Rachaad White. So obviously I think he performed at an elite level last year. We talked about the breakout if you were here last season, but I do have some concerns that it could be one of those seasons where we find a little bit more balanced attack. He could hit, but I just don't see the potential of what he reached last year, and that was the top 6 running back. All right, next up is Isaiah Pacheco. He finished as the RB14 last year. Really good season for Isaiah Pacheco. This Chiefs offense is expected to open things up, so I still think Isaiah Pacheco will be a feature, prominent part of this run game, and still be featured in the passing game and run game, but I think it'll be dialed down a little bit, especially Pat Mahomes. The receiving options in this passing game step up. The team got Hollywood Brown, drafted Xavier Worthy. They're expecting to have Rashee Rice at least for a portion of the season. So I think we're going to see a little bit more of the passing game than we did from last year from this Kansas City Chiefs team. Expecting a little bit dialed down performance from Pacheco, who I have ranked exactly where he finished last year. All right, next up, we got Kenneth Walker. And to me, Kenneth Walker is one of those guys that has a lot of upside, brand new offense under Ryan Grubb here in Seattle. And so for the Seahawks, they're going to need the 1-2 punch of him and Zach Charbonnet, which kind of limits the ceiling that Kenneth Walker has. So obviously, I think he's a great player, phenomenal player, home run hitter. He will need to see the same volume of touches that he did last season, 18 to 20. But his red zone usage needs to remain the same as well. And that's where he's seen a lot of success here early on in his career. So I like Kenneth Walker, like the upside. Just needs to show that the team is still going to use him in the red zone extensively like they have in the previous years. All right, then last up in this tier is Devin Achane. And listen, I like Achane. I think he's a fun player to watch, but is he going to get the volume, right? Like, is he going to get the volume that we know and love our RB wants to have? And that's the concern I have, is if he doesn't get the volume in the run game, he's going to be very similar to what he was last year. And that's kind of an inconsistent, high upside type play. So could he finish in the RB1 conversation? Yes. He would need a full workload, an injury to Raheem Mostert. Something would need to happen for Devin Achane to really produce at RB1 levels. Other than that, I think he'll have a lot of RB1 weeks, a lot of RB3 type weeks, and finish out somewhere here in the top 15 to 20 running backs, kind of no doubtedly. So I like the player. I think that his expectations right now are a little higher than they should be, personally. All right, and in the next tier, so we had Devin Achane there. We have James Cook, who I firmly placed in the RB2 conversation. Even when he was playing well last year, he was really inconsistent. Looked a lot better under Joe Brady in the new offense once he took over. But, a lot of inconsistency for James Cook over the second half of the year. And I expect that to be the case this year. Josh Allen is the main threat in the red zone. The team went and got a couple receiving options in Curtis Samuel, drafted Keon Coleman. Obviously, Dalton Kincaid's expected to take a bigger role. So in that case, I think James Cook is going to be a very secondary piece in this offense. They also went and got Ray Davis in the draft. So tough situation here for James Cook, who looked like he was stepping into his own at the beginning, at times last year. But I think this is going to be a case where we see an inconsistent RB2. He should still finish around this range. All right, next up, we got Aaron Jones, who has been a RB1 for a mainstay of his career. And I think he finishes as an RB2 with Minnesota. Now that he's on a new team, he signed a 1-year deal with Minnesota to kind of prove it, see what he still has left, if he can earn another contract. And I like Aaron Jones, but this offense also needs to have Sam Darnold starting, and they also need to be competing, because I could see Aaron Jones getting shut down later towards the year. He's had trouble staying healthy for the entire course of a season, and so we've seen him get injured and then try to come back too fast and re-injured again. I'd want to see Aaron Jones healthy, but he is a very risky play here in the RB2 section. I think if he plays all 17, he would be a lot higher than this, but I know he's at risk for injury. And we also need to see how the team performs. I think it would be tough for him to stay the starter if this team does not perform well all season long. All right, next up in this tier is Ramondre Stevenson, who signed a new contract with the Patriots. I was not a big Ramondre Stevenson fan, but him signing a 4-year deal lets me know that the team is invested in him. Obviously, no more Ezekiel Elliott, just Antonio Gibson in the passing game. But Ramondre's handled a full workload in the past, and I think that the team is going to give him all the chances they can, especially when you have a rookie quarterback there or even a veteran quarterback in Jacoby Brissett. The team drafted Drake May, so I think Ramondre can have a really nice season, especially if he's getting some checkdowns and getting involved in the passing game. I expect Ramondre Stevenson to firmly be in the RB2 conversation on a week-in, week-out basis. A lot of you are not going to like this next one, but Najee Harris should be in this RB2 conversation as well. He finishes the RB23 last year, which was a top 24 running back. And this was considered a down year where he had 1,000 rush yards and 8 touchdowns. Now, he's not going to get involved in the passing game, and I think that's the main driver why he can't finish higher than this. And then also, if he lost any work to Jaylen Warren, he would finish much lower than this. I expect it at least to be a split committee under Arthur Smith, and I think Najee Harris will perform well. So give me Najee Harris here in this RB2 range. All right, and then the last player, actually, the next player I'll say in this category, Raheem Mostert, who I probably should have higher. It's just if Devin Achane does take a little bit of the work away, we got to assume that Raheem Mostert is kind of a threat to have some of that work taken away. Obviously, was very successful in the red zone last year. I doubt that he maintains that level of success, 21 touchdowns in the red zone. But if he does, he can massively outplay this spot. I think he firmly fits in this RB2 range. And even off of a career year last year, I expect this Dolphins attack to look a little different with Achane getting a little bit more love. That's why I have him rated higher. But I think Mostert still is the same type of role, still used in the red zone. It's just some of those higher outputs that we saw from him last year. I think we will see those dialed back a little bit this year. And then the last player in this tier is James Conner. I would have also put Zamir White in this category. He was not on this list, but Zamir White is a player I would have also put in this RB2 range. He performed like that down the stretch last season for the Raiders. They didn't really sign anybody outside of Alexander Madison. So I think this is an instance where we can know Zamir White should have a strong finish, a strong season, I should say, based off of the finish that he had. And then we got James Conner here at the end. And listen, this is a guy who might be higher, but there's also risk of injury, which he's been an injury-prone running back in his career, missed time last season. And the team also drafted Trey Benson early in the draft this year. So obviously it could be a committee where at least Trey Benson is taking away some looks from James Conner. So I think James Conner played well last season, but in the time that he was healthy, he played well. But I also do think this might be a potential changing of the guard as he's getting older, as Trey Benson will get some more looks. And we got to see who looks more explosive out of the two. James Conner, a risky RB2, but if he plays all 17, this is about the range he should end in.